everyone, and this is my first episode of my podcast, Common Culture. My name is Alyssa, and this first episode is going to be diving us deep into one of the most cultural shows, in my opinion, on any streaming platform, Legendary. A quick recap as to what Legendary is. It is a show showcasing ballroom culture's history, also showing how well and alive it is today. And this is not something new. This is on its third season now, so obviously its success is shown. People are still interested and very much entertained by ballroom culture. And full disclosure, you can call me your fifth judge today because while I have no experience in ballroom culture, the entertainment industry, and all things cultural always entertain me, and I am here to commentate as a fifth person. Do not take anything I say too seriously, but I really want to dive deep into what I understand, what I know, as someone who's also part of the queer community, a part of culture that from Birmingham, Alabama, I didn't get a lot of exposure to. What aspects can be translated over into other things outside of just an HBO show? Does it have the potential to truly take ballroom culture and put it on the map? Or is it just something that they'll make a few seasons of and then we'll move on with whatever new trending thing is happening? Let's get into it. So like I said, I'm starting from season 3. I'm going to just start with watching the episodes and kind of giving you a react for each episode. Click in here and there to talk more about certain parts of the episodes if it strikes me, but I'll talk to you guys when I'm done. Episode 1 and 2 are both grand marches. Okay, first things first, we have to talk about Miss I Keep a Job, Keke Palmer. She is similarly to Zendaya, an overall actress, comedian, fashionista, hard worker, and yet literally the only difference is color. She's a little darker. To me, the fact that Keke stays at the job, stays at the bag, stays putting out things for people to consume and enjoy shows me that she has longevity. And I like that. I like that in a new judge because I think Megan brought a lot of popularity to the show. But you could see that she didn't know a lot about the culture, and I don't know to what extent that Keke knows about it, but I think that an overall entertainer, someone with longevity like her, who's been in the game as long as her, I think she brings that in general. I think that's one thing I noticed in the first season was I didn't like that they didn't kind of take in their previous scores. It's almost like they forget each week when they score, or each episode when they score, and I wish I would just bring back into the memory like, hey, I just scored this group this score, so I need to compare it to that score. But also they need to also take into account who they're giving other scores to. So it's always hard when it's the first house. So unless they're like shockingly great, it's really hard for the first house. But after that, there should always be some sort of comparison. Can I say I love the imagery of Alpha Omega because they give me if Greeks are gay. And I think that theme can go very far. So I'm excited to rewatch their performance because I should have said that in the beginning. This is not my first time watching it. This is just my first time analyzing it. I rarely try to watch culture and analyze from the get-go. I would rather perceive art first. Let me fight for Jamila. And I'm going to be honest. I'm not a huge fan of hers. But I don't dislike the woman either. But I'm going to fight for her and her judging because I think we all love a severe Simon Cowell type judge. Simon Powell, what is his name? I forgot. But American Idol, Simon, you know him. You know what I'm talking about. We all like to see those types. But to me, if you're going to be severely harsh, there should be someone that's a little more lenient. I think the problem is when a lot of them get lenient. Like, I like when multiple ones are like balance each other out. Law is such a good judge because he judges primarily on entertainment and fashion. That is his thing. He knows how things look when they look good. He's proven that to us. His eye can show that. And he gets a lot of his inspiration from ballroom. He judges fantastically. He judges evenly and consistently, if I'm being honest. I need that man to get Zendaya on the show. That everything that you see in mainstream culture comes from ballroom. Like how we see it in mainstream culture, because I think because it's not exactly like it, they're like, no, it's not that. But if something is inspired, if something comes from a basis of something that we just so happen to then teach as names doesn't mean it's not from that basis. Just because we don't call it voguing. And I think a lot of dance culture has a lot more inspiration from ballroom than a lot of people want to give some admission to. So basically, I'm okay with lighter judges when they are balancing out stricter judges. I don't like when everybody's too strict or everybody's too nice. So let's hope that doesn't happen. I'm going to say it now because I'm watching them again. This is the only performance that I analyzed the hell out of when I watched it, because that House of Light had so much potential in its story. I love a good story. I love when I feel like if I can root for you and you're good enough, even if you grow, I can be there with you. But their performance was just extremely underwhelming. And while crisp and clean, just looked like another dance performance. Maybe try AGT. I have to say that voguing is not something everyone can do. It's an expression. It's a freestyle. It's something created by humans, you know? It wasn't some neat science that you can like add together. You hit this mark, then you hit that mark. And like, not necessarily. It can be. There should be parts and elements of it that are crisp and clean. The part that helps the performance at the beginning, maybe at the end. But when people start to actually vogue and do what they're supposed to do, they need to hit it with emotion. And it really felt like they were just dancing to the beat. And unfortunately, as much as I wanted to root for them because of their story, they really didn't give enough. So at the end of the episode, I can say that I just think they have hopefully more to go. I think that this show does allow growth to happen if the houses push themselves, and there are houses from this ballroom that look like when they get the costumes, when they get the makeup, when they get the choreography, when they can help get tied together from this point on, when they can start highlighting the focus points of each house. I think that we'll start seeing those shock and wow factors that we kind of felt from season 1. But I think that what I can start talking about now as I go into the second one and rewatch it is the fact that I think that we're just hitting what, I know people may, it's an art, but I feel like sometimes it's a sport. It's a competition. People rank it, people rate it. It's similar to cheer to me. So it can be sort of this competitive nature. So to me, it reminds me of a sport. And I think what happens, especially when sports start to finally get the backing that they deserve, is that at first you're going to see the greats come out and perform. But as you move forward, as you keep asking for more people to come and play, you're probably going to still just see those greats be great until it has the true funding in communities, not just on these grand stages. You're not going to see stars shine yet. And I think that if HBO, wanted to project something into a future that can really be a staple for itself, it would think about going into these communities and giving 50, 25K for ballroom performances, because that ups the ante, and then you can get better judges, you can get better promotions, you can get better everything in these cities, and really let the art form start cultivating itself in the same way a sport does. Eventually, if you go back 50 years ago and watch some basketball, you're going to say that shit sucks. But now, the NBA, top leading sports with revenue. So I think that that's what has to happen, is that if we can match this from the community standpoint, you'll get people who are good enough to go on this show, and you can really have people follow it for decades. So that was my analysis of the first episode. Let's start jumping into the second one. This part 2 of Grand March. I will say blatantly loud as I talk about Juicy Couture and how much I love them, I have no idea what a Kiki house. I kind of get it. It's like a G League ballroom culture. I love Juicy Couture. I think you can tell if that's what they are, that they have really been training in this. And I love it. I want more. I want to see that more, because if they're the future, if they're the younger generation, that's who they need to put their money behind, because they're the ones who are going to be able to deliver and serve something new and great. So go Kiki houses, go Juicy Couture. They're some of my favorites. I just love their aesthetic, and I love their story, and I love what they bring. And to me, that's what I think about, is how do they sell? And maybe that's too much for me, but I feel like ballroom's still about that. It's about selling at the end of the day, and they sell something to me, and I'm excited to see what it is that I'm seeing in them, but they sell something to me. My favorite house is Yoshi Yamamoto, and I'm saying that right now before I say anything more about episode 2. I'm only halfway through, but I love them. I love their aesthetic for this Grand March. I hope they do super, super well. I really, really love their house. I think this is the one that I learned. 360 Flip, trademarked by Laomi. So they're my house to win it all right now. I am agreeing with Jamila, and I'm disagreeing with the rest of the judges when I say that it's okay to give me a taste. I think it might set them up for failure to give 100% Yamamoto, because then they gotta come back for it every week. I think that these judges are big on growth. I don't think starting off with your heavy hitting moves does anything for anyone. Like, also let us grow and watch them. I think for TV, I think it's okay to give us a little taste and be like, okay, I know for a fact I can see more from them, so I'll come back next week and watch them. You know, I think would I'd rather see a stunning performance? Sure. But I think I would be more disappointed if then 2 weeks later they're showing those same big stuff when they could have grown to that. So if they're gonna give me a little taste, I'll say I'm okay with that. My spells it for me. Episode 3, we start to have a lot more fun. We finally get into a little bit of a challenge. And we're supposed to be giving queendom and being able to show Laomi's iconic 360 flip. I love how the mother from Yoji Yamamoto says Jaguars. Obviously, I told you I have them winning the whole thing, and they're the only ones who can hit the 360. I just don't think anyone can compete. Yoshi Yamamoto is one of the few groups that also give the TV a performance. They look at the cameras. They know that they are on TV and they're getting recorded from all angles. So they try to play into that in their performances, and I just love it. So episode 4 was kind of a wash for me because I just didn't really think anyone over excelled in any performances. We get into episode 5, anime. I'm gonna be really interested to see how to their style and to their performance. And I would say at first with Juicy Couture, I was like, do they just think that anime is like vibrant colors or something? But I think they were trying to do a yandere of this very cutesy looking thing, but it's very, very dark. I wouldn't call that anime necessarily, but very, very much inspired by Japanese, Asian cultures. Okay, the House of Revlon, it doesn't have to be simple, but it needs to absolutely be obvious. And obvious does not have to be stereotypical. And that's up for the creatives who are making it to do, you know? And I think that's just where it lacks, is that we see what you were going for, but if you're going to do that, you got to give us more creativity. You got to push us even further. Oh no, Yoshi Yamamoto. This is just a hiccup. They'll come back stronger. Because they forgot, or they noticed I think they made a mistake, and then they didn't just run with it. They just completely, okay, let Yoshi Yamamoto give Machiavelli a lesson, because you can see it in her face. You can see it with her whole face. She's just having a hard time realizing you're on a season, but this has already had seasons. At home, yeah, that's going to get you a lot of 9s. It's going to get you a lot of 10s, because they know if you're having a bad night, it's just a bad night. They don't have time. They don't have time to ask themselves, did this person have a bad night? Because they have to send someone home. Like, not only are you just losing one of many battles that you can do at home, this is one of the biggest stages for you. How long you're in front of the TV couldn't matter so much to how your house does when it goes home. It's a lot more. There's a lot of people, a lot of money, and a lot of marketing involved. And when that's the case, they have to be so fucking strict as judges. So I really don't think Laomi or any of them want this to be unsuccessful, and therefore your success is vital in that. So I don't think that they want any of these houses to feel like they're not doing well, because at the end of the day, they want you guys to do well, because you guys do really, really well. If you guys perform really, really well up here, they're going to bring back another season. Another house gets more, and another gets more exposure. So, yeah, I think that seeing Yoshi Yamamoto's overall mother, that anger and passion that she's feeling, it just shows us that they really want this to take off. They really want ballroom not only to take off, because it's already historic, but to have its place, to have its landmark that says not only do we exist, but we belong here for future houses that come on here. Remember, there have been seasons of this now, and I understand that your art form hasn't been completely mainstreamed, and so I think what's happening is this, the point of my podcast is to kind of tie in these trends and cultures, and I actually see it on TikTok where like these high school kids are like performing ballroom, Vogue, and all of this stuff. And of course, it's on camera, right? They're starting to already adapt it to a new level here. I think it's just getting it and pushing it out and and getting those kids, and they can think, okay, how is the camera going to pick it up here, or is that going to look good when it shows in an edit, you know? So I enjoy them trying to figure out ways to make ballroom different for them than the ballrooms from city to city, and these like little beat to beat things. I will say the middle team, Juicy Couture, ate them up, and their drops were in sync, and they were creative in sync. They weren't just simple movements to make sure that people could get it. They really tried to push themselves there, so I appreciate that. These battles, man, this Alpha Omega versus LaBeija, and they started off so really strong for me, and then it just got weaker. At the end of the day, we ain't here to see you necessarily battle a particular person. Battles have just been kind of not showing what that is. I want to be here so badly. It's not even about battling them. It's about making sure these judges see right here that I am the person that is not only carrying my house, but because this spirit is on my house, you'll see that on my team next week. And they're just not given that. I think every house in this season has the unfortunate of being on this season. The first season, you don't know what to expect, especially from some of the judges and the guest judges. The second season, they only know what to expect from the best, because those are the first people you get out for something. But the thing is, the second best is actually not that bad because they were allowed that growth. They had a lot of growth in the second season. But I think this third season, when you've seen how many battles at this point, how many shows, these aren't inexperienced judges anymore. So I think these houses have the unfortunate thing of having to be on this season and pull these judges over, because I think you're going to have to show them not the basics of ballroom, not the history of ballroom, but where is it going? Where is the future going? What staple are you going to make? Naomi made her 360. She is a staple of the community. Law has brought fashion, camp, probably better than anyone in the past generation. If we just talk Zendaya alone, people have put their staples on it already. What is yours? And it doesn't feel like any of these people want to put a staple on ballroom. They just want to highlight that they do it the best. And I think that's the difference between bringing out their best, is that you have to realize where is that best coming from. Is it coming from a place of desperation? Because when you've been so desperate to get highlighted, that can be passion. But once you've been highlighted, it can make you feel like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. But really, you got to keep being unsatisfied and going, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be, on a step to something greater, you know? So there are definitely great houses here. I just think it's going to just come down to them competing, which is unfortunate. I really want to see a really good competition. But I think that who is here right now, nobody, like even with gag flags being thrown, I don't think there's anyone here who doesn't deserve to be here right now. So let's keep going with episode 6. I think that, again, it's more of that mentality of translating it over through TV. Obviously the live performance must have been drawing people in, and I allow for that because I can tell that they are a artsy group. So I'm happy with how they came out this week. Episode 9, a try-on episode. What can we ask the audience to get away with? Do we like competitions in between, little playful shows? I would love for them to go into the audience a bit more. See very talented people in the room. I think that would be really cool for snippets on social media. I think they need to really showcase all the talent that they have in that room, not just the ones who came to perform for you, but like the live audience is there for a reason. Right now they really just feel like background noise. I want to see them participate a little bit more, and I think that this episode was fine to do, trying little tricks and plays, but I could have done without it. Or if you're gonna try something a bit more. I think they tried too hard on the culture. They put a lot of pressure on the culture, like duck walking to a finish line or whatever. You know, that felt very like think about what this culture is really about. It's about showcasing talent and an expression. And you have a live audience. Why not take some time to let the live audience express themselves and show off? Maybe even try to let them battle with one of the people in the houses. That'd be fine. I'm okay with that. You can be very, very creative in different ways than trying to put all the pressure on the culture to provide that. But I think that's the gap between like who they're showcasing versus who's behind the camera. You know, if there was multiple persons of the culture behind the camera, I think maybe you would have gotten that answer. But it shows me that there's probably still a lot of gaps between the people being a part of the culture in front of the camera, being like that behind the camera as well. I don't know who works at Dolce & Gabbana for episode 10, but you are a smart person. Giving them access to what the culture always wanted was smart of you. The fashion, the couture, the prestige, the rare, the art of clothing placed upon a body and showcased and performed as if there are kings and queens in the room asking to be entertained. That to me is what ballroom feels like when I watch it. And giving them access to the clothing they need to do that. Magnifique. I'm so proud of Dolce & Gabbana for that. This is telling me that the views are doing well. The streams are doing well. Because the makeup, the art, the faces truly look beautiful. And I think if they do what I'm saying on the other side, which is support the community culture and get some greats on this freaking show, because if you could support it as children, as young Kiki Houses as you are with Juicy Couture, you could get more of them coming out. You're going to get more greats to come on the show, and people are going to be entertained. Isn't there like this big discussion in that culture? Should you make your own dresses, or is it okay to buy and design? I think as long as it is presented in a way that is unique, because you don't see actresses and models when they're on a red carpet ever quite wear the dress the same way the model did. It's always differently placed on that body. So if you're just picking up a dress and placing it on your body and then letting your body be everything about it, that's not unique at all. The real culture of it is you should place it on your body in a way that suits your personality, what you're performing, what you're showcasing, as well as what you're trying to entertain the people with. So if you are a face girl, then that dress better go fully up and down to complement your face. If you are a spins and dips, you better make sure that whatever you're wearing can support your spins and dips and looks great when you're doing it. Ruffles, feathers, you know? The design part was about the hard work it took for the culture to be created. But as I'm saying, Dolce & Gabbana is doing what should have happened in the first place. Those people shouldn't have had to work that hard. That culture should have been bred better, should have been funded better. You should showcase that on a large platform, and I feel like this is a first step forward, and that's why I was so excited when I heard Dolce & Gabbana on this episode. So I love this parody culture that we get a lot from in Legendary, but also in general with ballroom, where it's taking something that's like been made already. I don't know why it doesn't come off as corny to see them showcase the Hunger Games in their own way. It looks fab. It looks amazing. It looks beautiful. That is truly something I'm learning myself, you know? So I just love this. That's so interesting to me. I mean, I don't even need to say anything anymore. Like, Kiki's response to their performance on episode 10 is exactly my response. It's exactly my response about the culture in general. They told a story, but they also told a depthful story. Like, something where I gotta hear it's a double entendre in expression. Like, not only am I giving church, but I'm telling you maybe like an issue of the church. I'm making you think. What do I mean by come as they are, you know? You are exposing, you're pointing a finger at, you're telling something more than just, you're doing more than just show. Overall, I will say this finale really finale'd. I think they really did that. I think they should keep that 5 elements battle house down finale the same. I like that. That is good. It basically puts them all on the same even playing field of that episode. So I liked it. I like the way it finale'd. I think that this show has a lot of potential I want more. You know, we have so much ability to do more now with what we can see, what we can be entertained by, where we can be entertained by it on. But I'm missing I'm missing the liveness. You know, there's nowhere to go in certain places to see this. Those are where you're gonna have the biggest reactions. And I think that we're so used to being bought and sold that we're missing the true reason we want to be sold those things. I think maybe we've gotten so used to being sold things that we don't need that we don't remember that there are people who put out genuinely like amazing things that people want to go see. So I think that we just gotta get back to that. But this show could do that easily with just how cultured it is.